Woo! Happy best of show, y'all. How's it going?
Welcome in, y'all.
Cheers for the greatest show on earth.
Kendall and John reporting for the best of show winners tasting from our living room.
We are so pumped to be with you, y'all. This is going to be such a great evening.
We have dressed up for the occasion for our best of the show winners. Granted, we have never dressed up this much at the Q Society, but
I might going forward. I've gotten in the seats before, but not a tie-dye tuck.
You look great. I've had a lot of COVID.
Super pumped
a lot of food during COVID.
to be a part of this. It is great to have you in my life.
This is supposed to be like Oscars music. I don't know if it is or not, but that's the mood, in case you're wondering what mood we're trying to set here. We hope you have your cheese plate in front of you. We're giving folks a few seconds to chime in and get in with us.
Woo! Welcome, and we're getting our little station set up.
We have 150 folks joining us tonight for our tasting. Who knows how many are going to be watching, but we are tasting 7 best of show winners. I don't think we've ever done this class.
Never.
We've done a lot of
of
award-winning classes, but we've never done this class with all these cheeses on this plate. I'm so excited. Some of you are going to recognize some because you're going to say that one best of show. Of course it did.
Of course it did.
That's why you guys taste it all the time.
I am so pumped. I'm just getting our station set up. We have our 3 different screens playing so that we can keep up with comments and all the delicious things y'all say and tell us about.
Cool. So welcome in, y'all, as folks are coming in to joining us. Okay, words, Kendall. As folks are coming in to join us,
You're just excited.
I need to get centered for
the
day.
You look awesome.
Thank you. I have not seen you dressed up this way. Oh, I haven't seen you ever dressed up this way.
No, this is awesome. This has a story. We'll get to it in a few minutes. We are just thrilled to be here.
And if this is your first time tuning in with us, know that we are not always dressed up this way on Wednesday.
We ought to. Could we make it a tradition?
No. I thought it would be fun one time. I mean, you're wearing shorts. I'm in like full-on girdle here, so
you can't say that. That's not allowed. I'm not in shorts, y'all. It's not like I'm a weather.
If only us girls could like dress half up for black tie. I don't know how to do that. Okay, so welcome in. I'm gonna give it one more minute as people are coming, because as soon as we start saying everything, somebody comes on and then asks literally all the questions that we just said. So I hope you have your mise en place tasting station set up. For us, that looks like our beverage. Tonight, John and I are coming to you live with Rambler. That's our Rambler. We have participated in a little too much fun during COVID, and so we are taking a little dry spell, and we're already feeling better and proud of it. So we are drinking some sparkling water, which we always say is great.
Yes.
For tasting cheese. So if you have sparkling water or water, have your palate cleansers out. We will also talk about various wine pairings, beer, cider, as we're going through it from our taste memories. The cheese that looks like the runniest one, which has a little salami on it for everybody but one of you, that should be at your 12 o'clock. And then we are going to taste clockwise around. So the really runny cheese that's super white with the salami on it, that's at your 12 o'clock. And we will go clockwise. Everybody should have their menu. If for some reason you did not get this menu, you can look back at the previous post right before this, and there is a menu on there. We took a picture of it. On the back is also a little cheat sheet of your 7 styles of cheese and flavor types, and our little pairing guide for future. What else? When we get going, we recommend saving back a little bite of each cheese. That way, first, most important, you can always end on your favorite bite. But second of all, your palate is going to change over the course of the tasting. Look, my little fancy bun is already coming out. Okay, this just clearly shows I'm not a hairdresser.
You're crushing it.
Yeah, I'm fantastic. Okay. Leave a little bite back. That way, as your palate changes, you can mix up and match the pairings and always end on your favorite bite. The bread in the middle of your plate and the corn nuts, we're going to do a little tasting exercise with these. And the bread is just a palate cleanser, but we ask you to first always taste the cheese naked or in the buff to get to know that cheese up close and personal first. And then we will talk about, somebody always says, Talk about the pairing. We'll talk about the pairing when we're ready, y'all. Most importantly, we really want to make sure y'all get to know the cheese and you love it as much as we do, or at least the story and the makers behind it. So that was a little housekeeping while you got all set up. We have 3 or 4 computers and monitors in front of us.
I was building some new systems and protocols while you guys were getting on, taking pictures and screen grabs. I also posted tonight's cheeses with their pairings. And so it's on the Facebook comment screen, the chat window, and I pinned it, so hopefully it doesn't disappear like last week.
Yeah. Way to go, babe. And so
it.
If you are looking from an iPad or iPhone, it might be harder to see the comments going up. And we know some of you, which is super fun, put us up on a big screen and you sit way far away, so you may not be able to easily click it. But know that the menu is posted at the top of the comments if you need it. Okay, you got to scooch 1 more inch. 1
more inch.
It's like every time, guys, every time. this arm needs like room,
well,
you know?
It's this top hat, I think, is just big tonight. It's like perfect.
Okay. Well, you can take your top hat off now.
I don't know.
Oh, Elliot messed up your hair. Huh?
That's all right.
Okay.
That's all right. It's a perfect day to have a messed up hair. You're gonna fix me? You're gonna fix
How's
me?
that look?
Fantastic.
How do we look, guys? Okay.
Perfect.
So
this is a fully unscripted event with the Antonellis. We have no idea what we'll talk about or how we'll talk about it.
And we usually do kind of a theme like, cheese 101, but really we are not going to spend time on those. This is all about the cheese and the makers and telling you how awesome they are. So if you are just tuning in, if you're tuning in and don't have a cheese plate in front of you, just know that we are not mean people and we sit here and do Facebook live events and eat cheese and expect people to think that's fun. There are 150 people out in Austin tonight who are enjoying this cheese tray with us.
This entire cheese tray, about a ½ pound of deliciousness about to go into our bellies.
And we've been doing this every Wednesday since COVID hit, straight here from our home, from the only clean corner of our home. And for all of May, we're donating a portion of proceeds to American Cheese Month for the American Cheese Education Foundation. So with the goal to create awareness about amazing American artisan cheeses. So if you are out there and you think, America doesn't have great cheese, or you still think of American cheese as just singles that come in a little plastic wrapper, we hope that we blow your minds tonight. Yes, many of these cheeses are exported and imported into European countries, into France and and England, other places that are really well known for their cheese. So we hope you fall in love just as much as we do. What else was I going to say? I had some other things. Okay, we're going to just take a moment to set this up. So normally, I know you're like, get to the first cheese, and then we try to do it, and we talk a lot.
And that's what we do. And there ain't nothing wrong with that, my love.
First question, can you guys hear us well? Sometimes I get too far in before I say that. So if there is...
A couple of weeks ago, we tried the new Facebook Live producer, and it was glitchy because it doesn't work with Chrome, apparently. And we only found that out the day after the event. So if you can hear us, let us know.
And y'all were so polite and nobody told us. I mean, you might have told us.
Until about 35 minutes in.
And we were like, do we stop? Do we go?
Yeah.
We don't know. So all that being said, we're probably going to screw something up. Hopefully technology doesn't screw up. But at the end of the day, whatever we do, we hope that you enjoy the cheese plate in front of you. Thank you for supporting our shop and our business and keeping our team employed and supporting all these makers. So that is the most important thing for us tonight, regardless of what happens from here.
Yes. And 2, did you already ask if people are celebrating something? We're clearly celebrating something besides just the cheese. It happens to be somebody's birthday tomorrow, but you're in on date night.
It's not mine. John had to announce his own birthday.
That's all right. That's all right. I'm celebrating. I've been in my birth month phase. So
yesterday, John was like, do I need to order for HEB pickup or whatever for Thursday? And I was like, why? Oh my gosh, it's your birthday. So now John's just going to have presents rolling in because
slowly,
nothing
over
comes
the course of the next month. I love it.
Yes.
I would take presents for 12 months if that was a thing.
I'm glad you think of it that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
I'm lucky. So I'm celebrating something. You might be celebrating something. So tell us so we can say, give a shout out. The sound quality is back to where it needs to be.
Also, let us know what you're drinking, and we'll tell you what we love pairing about with it. Let us know so you can be commenting, and we're going to try to be catching up, responding to all the comments. And if we don't hit it during this tasting, then we'll do so later. The other thing is, tell us if you've done multiple of these tastings. Last time we had somebody who did
six-timer.
A 6-timer, y'all. That's
crazy.
And
2 6-timers and a 5-timer, which is awesome. I mean, we're feeling very lucky and blessed to just get to share some time with y'all. So,
and then what else? Oh, but let us know too if it's your first time, because if nobody,
or second time or third time.
But if it's nobody's first time, then we can skip some of their like.
Oh well, that's 150 people. We're doing the whole thing, y'all. Let's get into this.
Okay.
Let's start enjoying. I'm gonna do it like I've never done it before. It's gonna be fantastic.
All right. As we start to dive in, we have to set the scene for you. Let's do our tasting exercise first and then set the scene.
Yeah, we got a lot.
You like how we roll with this?
All right, y'all. What I want you to do, we do this every time, and we do it because every time our palate's different, and this helps us reset and get prepared. Go ahead, pinch your nose like Kendall. Take one of those Spanish corn nuts, throw it in your mouth, and start chewing. Pay attention to what's happening on your tongue. Your tongue can pick up salty, sweet, sour, bitter, and umami. And when you feel like, oh, I nailed this, I know exactly what this tastes like, open up your nostrils and exhale out. And let the aroma waft through your nose and hit your olfactory. And what this is showcasing is that taste on your hard palate, aroma in your nose creates flavor. In this case, as the Texans would say, Frito pie. As maybe other non-Southerners would say, maybe really intense popcorn, buttered popcorn. And so it's really helpful to do this anytime you're going to do a tasting, whether it's a wine tasting or cheese tasting, because it helps remind you of being really cognizant of the experience that you're about to enjoy.
Consciously taking in all this food. And hi, Emma. I see Emma from Mexico joining us. Happy belated birthday. We love you, Emma. Okay, so now that we've all...
A lot of salt.
A lot of salt. That's what you taste. And then when you open it up, Frito pie. Okay.
So good.
As we set the stage to go into this, what the heck is the American Cheese Society and what is the best of show competition? So we can tell, we could go on that forever. We know you don't want to forever hear about it. John, I'll let John talk about it, but American Cheese Society is an international nonprofit, Canada, North America, well, all of North America, including Mexico. So Canada, USA, and Mexico. It is an annual competition and conference. There's a competition and this is the first year, I think in like 30 something years or whatever, a few decades that it's not being held, clearly alongside with many other folks, and canceled events. But it is to celebrate American cheeses, but it started out as a way to help the American artisans and give feedback. And so why enter a competition? Folks, a lot of times it wasn't like, oh, I think I have the best cheese ever. It was, I want to be better at what I do. I want an amazing judge to judge it and score and tell me what's wrong in my process or where can I get good feedback. So the judging process is really supposed to be able to give all this constructive feedback to help people improve. And then since it's now evolved, I don't remember at its height how many it had, but last year I think there were 1,700 entries.
Yeah,
I think
about
there was
that.
2,000 or almost 2,000 individual cheeses entered every year. And then for the man to take you behind the scenes is the man who worked it for 10 years.
8 years, 7 years.
Yeah.
I was blessed to start as a volunteer in 2009. If you were on our Back to the Beginning class a few weeks ago, we talked about how we got started. And one of those things was just being lucky enough that ACS came to Austin in 2009. And they were down at one of the hotels downtown. And I found out about it, and I just basically invited myself to volunteer 7 straight days, 15-hour days. As I would put in as much work as I could to be a part of that. And I think that year we only had between 1,100 and 1,200 entries. And it can be multiple cheeses of one entry or one large wheel. And the volunteers, what we got to be a part of is unpacking all the boxes from all of the companies that were coming in, almost 300, probably a fewer back then, and unpacking the boxes, checking in the products. It costs a lot of money and they put a lot of effort in these products. So it's our job to not harm any of these babies when they come into our possession.
And can you imagine getting all this cheese right at once?
Yeah, FedEx.
To get it into refrigeration and making sure all the labels stay with it, because if something becomes misidentified, like what are you going to do? And you guys also had this triage program. So say something arrives a little out of temp or a little wet, then it's their job as the receiving team to get it back into the best shape it can be before it goes into competition. So they send it to the little hospital room and triage.
Yeah, that's the
to work
sexy
it out.
part. Yeah, well, so picture a FedEx truck showing up and being full of boxes of just cheese. And then picture that happening about 5 times in a day.
And
plus
tick tock.
Yeah, plus a bunch of other trucks showing up. And so we would do this receiving within a 2-day window, and with a whole host of volunteers and organizers. And by the year that I was chairman of that committee, before I rolled off, our goal was to do it in 1 day, all of that receiving. And we ended up receiving about 1,800 entries in one single shift on a Friday the week before. And then that goes to the judging, which is the next week. And we had about, I can't remember, about 30 to 40 teams of, no, that's probably not right. About 25 judging teams, 20 judging teams. And that's of 2 people. And it's a blind judging, which is not typically common in competitions like this. And it was one aesthetic judge and one technical judge. So there's one judge really focused on finding the flaws and the defects, and the other judge trying to find all the amazing aspects of the cheese and giving it.
None of us want all bad feedback. Give me some good feedback too. I mean, I'm very aware of what looks good in this dress right now and what doesn't. So I don't need y'all to tell me what doesn't, but feel free to tell me what looks good.
So so then there's about 17 categories. There's a whole different quantity of categories. It ends up being 100 and about 103 total categories. All those entrants are competing in. Some only have 2 or 3 entrants. Some have 50. And at the end of the day,
wait, I like to pause just right here, and we are going to get to tasting.
We are going to taste, and we're going to eat delicious things.
If anybody has ever seen a dog show, it's literally like a dog show. So you have each breed. So you might have all cloth-bound cheddars aged this amount of time. So you have your different classes, and all the cheeses will compete in that class. And so they get first, second, and third place ribbons in that. And ACS is pretty tough. If you don't get enough points, there could be no first place winner. There could be a second and third with no first place. So you also have to meet a certain quality. And so that's in each class. And then the first place winners from all the classes come back in for the best of show.
And that could be about anywhere between 80 and 103 different cheeses that the judges taste, and they choose their top 3 of that grouping. And it's just that at that point, it's a popularity contest. It's not based off, it'll be based off how many votes the cheese gets. And
so really people are just like, what was my best bite? So they don't have to go through with their technical judging score sheets and all that. Once it goes to best of show, it's just like overall,
what's the best?
What am I going to keep going back to?
This was my first love. Before I became president of the American Cheese Society, this was what I did and loved. I got to be a part of this amazing
I don't know if you're saying this.
Blue Dot team. Oh. Well, I do love this.
But the, you were like, this is my first love. Okay, yes. Judging
for the ACS.
I mean, you're like Absolutely. A tight-knit family, and you're there wherever you go. They're all volunteers, and they're there for 2 weeks to do the whole thing. So it was a big time commitment and big resources for anybody to do.
So we'll talk more about it along the way, but I know I'm ready to have a snack.
Yes, and I know you are too. And now you know, though, that how these went. Oh, you could tell us what categories each one of these
No, I probably can't. It's soft ripened B with wood. I don't know. I can't remember all of the categories. It's been a few years since I rolled off.
All right.
Those of you that have skipped ahead and not listened to Kendall, I hope you didn't eat the bark. We'll just say that. Typically, we'd like you to stay with us so we can kind of talk about the products and enjoy it with you. You will be full by the end of this. So this is a soft ripened cheese made by Jasper Hill in Greensboro, Vermont.
And one thing I'm going to let them do tonight is let's tell them how to eat it, and they can be eating it while we're talking about it.
Perfect. So we'll skip our order.
Yes. So just as you dive into this cheese, take a bite of the inside first without the rind.
This is the cheese, the white coated cheese that we're looking at.
And so take a little, it looks most like a brie out there for those folks who wouldn't know it. So you're going to take an inner bite, then take a bite with the rind, which is the thin white rind. And while you're doing that, we'll get to the food pairing in a minute, but we'd love to tell you about this cheese. So this cheese is called Harbison.
This cheese is called Harbison. There were a couple great questions that I'll try to come back to in a few minutes. So this cheese is called Harbison. It is made by Jasper Hill Farm.
Smell it first.
It's so wonderful. This is
cream of mushroom soup,
a style of cheese that kind of came out of the French mountainside. It was made with this really rich, decadent sort of winter milk, the style. And because it's so gooey, you can feel it. Because it gets so gooey, what they would do is they wrap bark around the outside of the cheese. It's a little 9-ounce cheese about that big. And that would help keep the thing together. It also gives some of that really nice terroir, that sort of taste of place. Jasper Hill actually harvest this wood from felled trees that are on the in the Jasper Hill woodlands right in that area. And this is I think the cambium layer, cambium. So it's a softer, more pliable when it's wet, and they wrap it around and let it age in it. So you're going to get this real rich woodsiness. A cheese like this, if you want to learn more about it, go to our YouTube channel, and you can watch.
We didn't even have a YouTube channel before COVID.
Yeah, but now we do. And we did a behind the scenes tasting with the folks up at Jasper Hill with Mateo, one of the two brothers that owns it, and Zoe, and they do a demonstration of how to actually eat this cheese, because typically you get it in the whole wheel. You cut the top of the rind off and you just put a spoon in it, and that's just decadent and wonderful.
So literally it's like a little pot of fondue without ever being heated or melted or anything added into it. And depending on the age, it'll be more spoonable or not. So yes, this is made by Jasper Hill Farm. It's called Harbison, named for Ann Harbison, who's kind of considered the grandmother of Greensboro in Vermont. Andy and Mateo Keeler are two brothers who started Jasper Hill Farm after doing some big in-depth investigation and research into how do they support and save and invest back into the local economy, and that so many people were migrating out of it. And so how do they really bring back and support that local economy and build it up? And that's what they're doing.
There's the bark, y'all. You don't want to go ahead and eat the bark.
So we always say eat the rind, but don't eat the bark on this one. It's aged 6 to 13 weeks. The more it ages, the runnier it will be. Sometimes we'll get a little bit more ammoniated towards the end, but still delicious. I love this one with, so they say it has every wheel is different. Which we should talk about in just a second. But tonight we're, between all of us, 150 of us, we're eating almost 20 different wheels of this cheese. Most of them all are from the same batch. So we still should be tasting the same flavor profiles. But you get that woodsy and sweet cream, sometimes a lemony. Yeah, and then I always get mustard seeds. So I love pairing this with mustard seeds. And then this style of cheese is known for those vegetal flavor profiles and umami. So like asparagus and cauliflower,
Somebody asked if there was a mushroom in it. It might be the bark, but it sometimes tastes like mushroom.
Yeah, so this is typically tastes like, that's why I said it smelled like cream of mushroom soup to me.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
I've never said that, but that's what I got this time. And then
that makes me happy on so many levels.
I forgot to tell y'all, this one in 2000, no wait, scroll up so I don't get it wrong. 2018, Harbison won Best of Show. So the reason I said something to note, and I think is cool about artisanal cheese, is that year it could have tasted completely different than it does right now. So more or less, all of these cheeses taste reminiscent of what they were. But what does it take to be the grand champion or win the blue ribbon? It's that everything is spot on. And it could be that by the time it's gone in and out for judging, and no matter how amazing that cheese was at first, it's just not going to show as well by the time. It's like a dog. If you've been running around all day, then it's going to be tired for that Best of Show, So everything the stars have to you not only have to have an amazing cheese, but the stars have to perfectly align to make it be the winner that year, which I just think is magical. So these are reminiscent of what those cheeses were, but it could have been also, it was superb as well on that day, enough to beat out everything else.
And I think it's worth noting that Jasper Hill Farm has won Best of Show for 3 different cheeses. So this is their 3rd victory.
It was hard to limit which one to do, but a different one is winter seasonal, so we couldn't do that one.
And we paired this with Olympia Provisions Finocchiona. This is Eli is the owner, him and his sister, based out of Portland, Oregon. And they make amazing meat products. He was inspired by spending time in Europe and came back and did it. And I think one of their claim to fames, at least, is that they use fresh herbs. Getting to go into their herb room. They have a whole room just for herbs. They don't do dried. They try to use just fresh. And so you get this really pleasant, wonderful flavor profile from it. It's awesome. We have a little guest joining us. Looking for a popsicle. It's fantastic. So this is one of my Fennel sauce salamis are some of my all-time favorite. They remind me of my time at home. My mom used to cook with fennel sausage all the time, and just reminiscent of good home cooking.
And Olympia Provisions has won numerous awards, specifically also at the Good Food Awards. So that's another award winner for you. And I said, let's take some of your cheese back, and John and I both ate that full cheese. It's just great. Love that cheese. Okay. What are some questions?
We have one customer that said she has a frozen screen. On our second screen that we're watching the video feed on as well, it isn't frozen. So you might just want to refresh quick and pop right back on. And hopefully it'll work. One of the questions was how many cheeses does a judge taste? In our competition, the judging was over a 2-day window. And so the two teams would generally aim for about 40 to 45 cheeses per day. And then, of course, on the end of that second day, go into best of show. So they're tasting a lot of cheese. And their work, it's hard work. They're all experts. And so what Kendall was kind of alluding to with these cheeses that go into the best of show round, they have to be best of the best, right? Just to get into that room and then to win over all of those experts. They've been tasted. They are often judging all across the world and then participating in this one. So they know what they're tasting and looking for. And it's an amazing experience. Getting to be in that back room as I did for so many years and watching and getting to taste these cheeses. I mean, anyway, it's just splendid.
And speaking of whatever you might be drinking, if you're drinking any sort of sparkling wine, it will go fantastic with that because it's so creamy and palate coating that the bubbles will just pick up that fat off your palate and take it back. I also saw that Carrie is drinking Chardonnay. Oftentimes I'm like, Chardonnay traditionally aged in barrels or an oak is going to be more challenging sometimes to pair with cheeses than Chardonnay aged in stainless steel. That being said, I actually think Chardonnay in oak, like a traditional Chardonnay, will be awesome with this pairing because it's that bark wrapped. And so you're pairing like with like and sort of that woodsy flavor profile and bringing it out.
Gosh, I love Harbison.
I know.
It's a great cheese.
It's like I want a whole one in front of me right now.
It deserved to win. So good.
Okay.
Moving on.
Yay.
And we're just going to keep going through winners all night.
Okay.
You know what's really fun? We'll eat and then I'll tell you.
And now that we've got the pace, we'll get the pace going here a little bit. Okay. Next up is a winner that won Best of Show in 2003. This is a mistake cheese, y'all. This is Red Hawk from California, made by Cowgirl Creamery. You want to tell how is it? So they make the famous cheese that a lot of you know called Mount Tam, which is a triple creme cheese. And normally triple creme, meaning that they've added cream back into it or it has over 75% butter fat. It's basically as close as you can get to butter for being a cheese. It is always a bloomy rind, which is that last category of cheeses with that thin white bloomy rind that has some sort of mold that derives from Penicillium camembert.
And what makes it cool cheese as well is they wash the curds in, so it almost creates a little sweeter flavor profile by doing that. So it's sort of a one-of-a-kind American original style of cheese.
I'm still eating the last one.
Yeah, go ahead. And did we say how to eat this? We're going to talk about eating it first.
We're going
to break all of our habits over the last 10 years. So definitely eat from the inside out. This rind is pungent and stinky and wonderful, but it is more. And the cheese overall is more bark than bite, but the rind is going to be the most intense flavor. So try from the inside out. Try it with the rind. Go ahead and eat that. And we paired that with spicy, crunchy okra, which is outstanding from Davina. I posted on the feed all of the pairings for tonight, and I pinned it. So hopefully you can still see that. That would be super helpful in case I forget one. But Red Hawk, basically what happened is they were making this cheese in West Marin, and they had a batch. And it was summer months. They were making Mount Tam. And this strain of Brevibacterium linens, which is what creates this beautiful color orange and this smell, this pungent smell, actually is an ambient bacteria in that area and is particularly strong in the summer months. And that bacteria kind of hopped on the cheese and they tried washing it off with a brine. And instead of washing it off and killing the bacteria, it created the perfect environment for this bacteria to thrive and grow. And they kind of came back to this sort of, I don't even know if it was an experiment or just case study.
Well, then I read this part earlier, which I did not know this fact. So Kate Arding, who now owns a cheese shop, Talbot and Arding in New York, in upstate New York, and had worked in cheese. She's British, had worked in cheese for many years with Neal's Yard Dairy. She was over working with the cowgirls with Sue and Peg, and she was in the cave aging rooms and found this discarded new experimental cheese that Sue had made and had gone awry, and she had tried to wash it and figure it back out, and it didn't end up working out, so she just put it on some bottom shelves and left it. So Kate is in there a couple of weeks later, and Kate, this is what I love about cheese people, right? Kate pulls it out, was like, what's this cheese? I'm gonna take a bite. And it doesn't look like any of the other cheeses, but she's familiar with cheese. Takes a bite, and I wrote down her quote. She said, she came out, ran out, and said, "This is your best cheese yet. Can you do it again? It's rich and savory, almost meaty, with a hint of anchovies and lemon with a long, sweet, keen finish. Please tell me you can do it again." So, and then I love this quote, that it's alarmingly strong aroma, but seductively mellow flavors. So
it tastes great tonight. It's yeasty.
They figured out how to replicate it. And again, we all have different ones, and I'm sure we have different batches tonight. So some may have more strong or more aggressive. But you can really smell how strong it is, but it's so creamy. And because of that triple creme, that's why we paired it with this pickled olive to cut that fat on your palate.
This is as close to butter as cheese will ever get. This triple cream category.
Like he wasn't listening when I was talking about
it. Just saying it again.
Okay.
You just have to remind yourself. And that's what is this very flavorful, very intense room temperature butter that it's tasting great tonight. It's got a little hint of bitterness, which I kind of like tonight.
I didn't get the bitterness.
I did. I might have been just from the way I was eating it with the Quico.
This was the first, when this won, it was the first wash rind cheese to have ever won. So that was cool, because as you're going to get into and see, the ones that often win are these like really aged out cheeses, at least from recent times, these aged out cheeses, which get to develop a lot of nuance during the aging process. So it's a pretty big deal when a younger cheese wins, because it's saying that it has all this amazing, delicate, balanced flavor that can rival these longer term aged cheeses. So anyway, this one, when it won in 2003, was the first washed rind cheese to win.
And it tastes outstanding with the okra if you haven't done that already. That was a fun bite.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Let's rock and roll.
Yeah. If you have any questions, let us know in the chat window. We're going to keep cruising.
As we go to these next ones, I do want you to make sure you save. We're going to go next to this Pleasant Ridge Reserve. But I want to make sure you save some of it, because I want you to go, when we get to Tarentaise, the one after that, I want you to taste them back and forth and jump back and forth between them to experiment. But we'll hold off on that. Before we go in, visually look down at your plate, and you can see a very yellow colored cheese, or straw hue, similar one, and then a whiter cheese, and then a more ivory colored one.
See if I can pull it off.
Yes. So this cow's milk, grass-fed cow's milk, which it counts for the coloring. This one is sheep and cow, so it's a little more ivory in color. And then your bright white one, your visual cue, that's goat's milk cheese.
Yum. That was awesome. That's like a crown. Best of show crown. It's like space unicorn. Space unicorn.
And as we've talked about in some of our 101, it's because goats can process the beta carotenes in grass, while cows and sheep to a lesser extent can't. And so that color doesn't come through in those cheeses. I said it the wrong way, but y'all followed it.
We got you.
Okay. I don't know which way I said it, but you get it.
Goats digest it. It doesn't come to their milk. Cows don't. It goes into their milk.
Yes.
Nailed it. Now you too can become a certified cheese professional just like us.
And so if you see this really deep hue, you know, if it's not fake colored, that this is probably a grass-fed animal. And so that takes us to what makes this one of the most award-winning cheeses ever, Pleasant Ridge Reserve from Uplands Cheese in Wisconsin.
Yeah,
it has
so
won.
good.
I had to write down all the years. It won in 2001 and in 2005, and then an extra age version of this cheese won in 2010.
Which is incredible, because up until a handful of years ago, I don't remember, they've only made one cheese. They made Pleasant Ridge Reserve, and they aged it, and they sold it around 9 months, 10 months, or 16 months and beyond for the extra age. And it won 3 times. And now they make a cheese similar to that Harbison we just tasted, and theirs is called Rush Creek Reserve. But But this cheese is a staple in cheese shops. Andy Hatch.
Oh, it tastes so good right now, y'all.
One of our dear friends. He and his partner purchased the dairy from Mike Gingrich, and Mike Gingrich's partner, who ran the operation for the first many years, and then sold it to Andy. And then, and then this cheese has just been consistently good year in and year out.
So one of the stories I love about this cheese, and I need to go back and reread this. I think it was in the Artisan Cheese, Kinstead's Artisan Cheese book, but it was that they spent years on their grasses, just getting their grasses to grow the way they wanted them to go, because most pasture land is overgrazed, so it grows monocultures and single types of grasses. So they spent years trying to get a diverse grass foliage to grow back, because what the animals eat definitely affects the flavor of the milk. And mimicking these sort of mountain style cheeses that when the first snows melt up in the Alps and the cows are taken up into the Alps, they're eating this lush foliage that doesn't exist in regular pasture, in regular overgrazed pasture. So
when I took a trip to Wisconsin, I was on this bus with 12 other cheese professionals, and we were on our way to Uplands. None of us knew where it was. And we drove right past this farm that was like picturesque, had the perfect herd of cows, had this amazing grass. And we were all like planted our faces against the windows looking at it. We were like, oh, this has to be the place. And the bus just kept going. And we all got so dejected. We're like, that place was like perfect. That should have been it. And we all got sad. And like a half mile down the road, the bus hit the brakes, did a K-turn, turned around, went back to that farm and pulled in. It looks amazing. It creates amazing products.
So they worked for years to get the grasses right, which is what he was saying. It just looked amazing. Then they worked for years on their herd. So they didn't just buy the neighbor's cows. Instead, they really have worked on their genetics and incorporating some European breeds that aren't known for putting out a mass quantity of milk like Holsteins, but instead are known for the quality of their fat globules, which is just sexy speak in cheesemaker term. So all that being said, a lot of cheesemakers try their hands in a lot of different cheeses, and one, they have for customers like different things. They need to stay viable, have various products. Forever, Uplands made one cheese, and they made it really well year in and year out. And then to not waste their winter milk when the cows are not pasture fed, they started making one other cheese, which is also an amazing cheese. So it's a great story. We love that one, and we want to compare it now to another mountain style, which basically means important what you're eating with.
Pairing. Yeah. Apple and onion jam from American Spoon in Michigan. Y'all, these two cheeses together make heaven. They're just wonderful. Save a little bit of this jam if you can and pair it with the next one as well. But together, this is match made in heaven. It's wonderful. And you should try the rind on this with some of your wines, like if you're drinking a Pinot Noir.
Somebody who was having Lambrusco, perfect for all these tonight. A lot of times reds can be more challenging, but I think everything on this plate tonight can handle a lighter, medium-bodied red, even one with a little bit of tannin. Anyway, yes.
Wow.
And we'll bring out if you're drinking with those reds, it can bring out the soil. We like to call it dirt, but if you want to call it as a euphemism, soil, it can bring out those flavor profiles and earthiness when you taste it with the rind. Okay.
Yeah, so that little jam is stupendous.
Now eat your next cheese.
Yes, let's taste it.
Tarentaise, which hails to us from Vermont, from Springbrook Farm. Jeremy Stevenson is the maker, and this has won. So important note, this is their regular aged. The Reserve has won twice, in 2014 and in 2017. We just didn't get our hands on Reserve for this, but this is actually one of my favorite ways to taste it. Springbrook Farm is also a nonprofit, operates Farms for City Kids, which gets youth out of the city and teaches them real life school skills in a real life setting. So it makes it important. Like, why does math matter? Oh, and then we add up gallons of milk, and how does that work? So it's a foundation, so you can feel good while you're eating this cheese. Also extremely important that they're grass fed and what they're grazing on and what their diet is. We love Jeremy. Served on the board also with John.
Jeremy's amazing. What I love about this cheese, I remember the first time I saw it, it has the rind of it is sort of concave. And that is sort of a throwback to Beaufort, which is a style of cheese that is made in the Alps, in the French side. And they would take the animals up in the summertime to graze and milk and make cheese. And in order to get those wheels down the mountain at the end of the summer, they kind of created this sort of shape so that they could wrap rope through it, tie it up, and strap it over the backs of the animals. So it's super cool. And then the other thing that's cool about Tarentaise, the cheese itself, is this was actually a recipe from a different company, Thistle Hill Creamery. And they were award-winning and making incredible stuff. But they basically helped start this Springbrook Farm Creamery so that the nonprofit could really kind of ramp up and stuff. And so the Tarentaise you can still get from two different farms from Vermont and taste them side by side. It's pretty amazing to do.
And both of these fall in the same style of cheese, of those mountain cheeses like Gruyere and Comté and Beaufort. And when we were in Europe, it's amazing. There's flavor wheels and there's whole museums dedicated to this where I always forget it, but it's like there's 112 or 206 or whatever specific flavor profiles that you can get in a wheel. And so sometimes you get the herbaceousness, more floral. Sometimes you get a little egg flavor.
Somebody asked what the rind looked like. So I'm showing you, this is the rind of the Tarentaise. It's got small little sort of bumps on it. It's a little orangey brown.
What are other flavor profiles that you can get in mountain style cheeses like that?
Well, we aim for that sort of almost bone broth or
bouillon cube
flavor profile. You can get celery, carrots, onion, brown butter. The caramelized onion might come through. Hints of leather, maybe cotton, things like that. There's a lot of Comté has about 107 different flavor profiles that you can pick up potentially in the wheels.
Yeah.
All the way from the grasses, herbs, things like that. It's amazing.
And tonight we paired this with
Tien Gang, 70% dark chocolate from Vietnam, from Maru. We were the first company in the United States to bring their product in.
Like matches my dress.
Yeah, and they have just taken off and had so much success. Their packaging is beautiful. Their branding is beautiful. They're bean to bar makers. They were among the first in Asia to really focus on that. And Vietnam has amazing raw materials. The cocoa plantations are just outstanding. And so what they're really trying to do is showcase the flavors that come from the terroir of those areas. And so you might see like little hints of cinnamon or honey on this chocolate. Taste it by itself and taste it like you would taste a wine or a cheese, and then taste it with the cheese. It's amazing what this chocolate can do. It's so good.
And so, yeah, we love dark chocolate and bitter chocolates with cheese. So once you've done that tasting, then also just go back and forth between the Pleasant Ridge and Tarentaise because they are in the same family of cheeses. These would have competed against each other in a class each year. And so see what's alike about them, what's different about them. Let us know tonight which one takes your favorite for that. And there are only 2 raw milk cheeses of the evening. So we can sell any cheese in the United States that's made with unpasteurized milk as long as it's aged over 60 days. Just a little distinction there. And I did see, I forgot your name. I'm so sorry that we missed a jam for somebody. Yay, you're the lucky one because unfortunately we seem to miss one for one person every single class. But thank you for supporting us anyway and having patience with our team and rooting for us. Okay.
Wow. I'd love to know what you guys thought between the two. We usually stock Pleasant Ridge Reserve in our case because we're one of only a couple, 2 or 3 places in the country that actually get to taste batches and select batches with the team at Uplands Cheese Company. So we choose, our team comes together, we taste the wheels and we decide what we think our customers are going to like the best and bring it in. But I love Tarentaise has this really spunky flavor profile. It's got more of that intense Swiss flavor that you would think of when you're thinking of eating Swiss cheese, the holy kind. So it has a little bit more punch. It's pretty fantastic. So,
all right, next one.
All right.
So we've done all cow's milk so far, and if people are lost and got lost between those last 2, we are now on the whitest long pointy spear cheese, which is Snow White. So again, if you're lost and you are like, oh no, I need to catch up, don't stress. There's too much stuff to stress about in the world. Enjoy with us. But we are on a long, pointy white cheese called Snow White. This is a goat's milk cheese, and it has this little guava paste on it. I mean, not guava paste, quince paste.
Quince paste.
This is from Sid Cook of Carr Valley Cheese in Wisconsin. So the other ones were all cow's milk. Cow's milk is more prolific, easier to come by in some senses. Well, we can actually talk about that compared to goat's milk. So Carr Valley cheese has been around for over 100 years in Wisconsin. Sid Cook is a 4th generation cheesemaker. He is a master cheesemaker, which is a designation in Wisconsin. This says semi-soft, but tonight I think this is actually a firm cheese.
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly. It just depends on your ages.
Yeah, it depends on your ages.
If you look at the outside, you can see that it has a little check marked pattern, and that's because this is a cloth bound cheddar style. So it means it's bound in cloth, as is the next one that we're going to eat. You don't have cloth on either one. We have to take off the cloth. But what that cloth allows it to do is to oxygen to still come in. The cheese can still breathe while it's also protecting it at the same time during the aging process and not completely letting it dry out.
So yeah, what's amazing about a cheese like this, we found this cheese when we first opened the shop. Goat cheddars, there's only a handful of cloth-bound goat cheddars that we've ever found and gotten a taste. It's a high-acid cheese, so the side of your tongue will sort of dry up a little bit, and it's an acidic style plus an acidic milk, and so the two together create this sort of really cool acidity. It's much drier than what you'd expect of a American-style cheddar, like Tournevant makes this amazing goat cheddar, but it's in a brick form and it doesn't dry out as much. It maintains a lot of its moisture in that shape, but with this permeable rind, this cloth, you're going to get a lot more moisture, syneresis, moisture exchange. And so you're going to get a drier flavor. You do get I end up with like tropical fruit notes in a cheese like this. That's how the goat milk presents on my palate often.
So goat's milk is known always for a tanginess. So you get that tangy and a sort of minerality. I still get that. When it's younger, you have more of this like mineral, grassy, zesty, fresh flavor. When it ages out, it can take on also that tropical note, sort of sometimes a butterscotch maybe, or sometimes like a caramely flavor. This cheese is aged a minimum of 6 months.
It's got a lot of good salt in it tonight.
Yeah.
I like it.
And we paired it tonight with Girl Meets Dirt. I was trying to find the right thing for you. Quince preserves. These are cutting preserves. This is from Audra. She is the maker. We met her at the Good Food Awards. She is also an award winner. And she is making this off of Orca Islands in Washington. And so this is our little sweet and tangy pairing, which is why I paired it with it. As far as what you're drinking, I would love a lot of dry whites with this. So Pinot Grigio, Sauvignon Blanc, depending on the fruity note, it'll bring out some of those fruity tones. I think it can also take a lighter red, like a Pinot Noir, again, to accentuate that
the
fruitiness.
Salt, the high salt content in the Snow White really pushes forward the flavor of quince on your palate, and it just lingers.
Yeah, it makes the quince really shine.
And linger. And I think that's outstanding.
I feel like I'm blowing out a bouquet of flowers. You probably don't think that when I blow on you, but after all this cheese.
Oh, I'll still take a kiss.
You love cheese breath.
I love cheese breath. The good thing is that we do this together, so we smell like cheese all the time. It works fantastic.
Yeah, we can't even smell ourselves anymore. Okay, and that I forgot to say Snow White won in, I think, 2008. So that was Best of Show in 2008. Mm-hmm. And now we get to move from that cheddar to another
I'm not
cheddar.
Ready to move on yet.
I know, but we've got things to do.
All right, we can do that.
All right.
For you, my love.
So let's move to flag sheep. Oh, did you have more you wanted to talk about and like the make process or something? Or are you just still eating?
I was just eating.
I don't need to skip ahead in stories or anything.
Sid Cook, for years and years and years, won so many awards. He probably produces about 80 different styles of cheese, and he would enter all of them. So when the Carr Valley palette showed up, we had to quarantine a whole section. Quarantine. I'm not going to use that word anymore because it's not as much fun as it maybe used to be. We'd separate out an entire half of this warehouse room just to unpack and unload his boxes. So we'd be waiting for the Car Valley boxes to open, and for years they were our largest entrant.
And another thing is,
and he won a lot.
And it's not cheap to enter. So you may say, why do some people not enter? I mean, it costs a lot to ship their products there. What if it's a cheese that just doesn't ship well, or maybe they don't have good capacity, like all the awesome packing materials. Maybe they live in a state like Texas and it's freaking hot all the time, and we know why people didn't open a cheese shop here beforehand, because it's hard to get cheese in good shape.
We know why we'll never get an American Cheese Society conference back to Austin. In 2009 when we did it, the average temperature in August was 100 degrees.
And they unpacked all that cheese. Okay. Can we now?
Yes, we can. I love you. You're the best.
Love you.
Let's do this thing, y'all.
So our flag sheep is also, so we're on our second to last cheese. In case you're wondering, it is our last firm looking cheese before we get to blue. This is our second cloth bound cheddar. So again, it is bound in cloth, wiped down and aged. This is flag sheep, which is made by Beecher's. Beecher's was started in early 2000s by Kurt Beecher Danmeyer in Seattle, Oregon, Seattle, Washington. That's where Seattle is.
That's all right.
Working through it.
For now.
And then in 2015, they actually opened also. So they're in Pike's Place, or right across the street from Pike's Place. They're in Seattle downtown.
I think that's like next door to the original Starbucks, or I feel like it's within.
Yeah. Okay. I don't remember it being right there, but then they also in 2015 opened in New York's Flatiron District, or 2011. That operation is suspended right now due to COVID, and they've gotten so much demand that they are also making cheese in Wisconsin. What is cool about them, they are not farmstead. So the Tarrantez was farmstead, Pleasant Ridge Reserve was farmstead, Harbison. That means they have their own animals, their own herd on the property where they milk them and make the cheese. Flag Sheep or Beecher's actually purchases their milk from nearby farms, so within 30 miles. Although with the sheep's milk, they have a different partnership too up into Northern California. And their whole goal is to make an amazing product free of artificial ingredients and additives. And Kurt is really about natural, good, healthy foods. And yes, cheese is healthy, which is a whole different class, but natural, good, healthy foods without any stuff added in. So there's no, like all these folks, but no hormones added into the milk or to the cows, and the cows are humanely treated. This is 50% cow's milk, 50% sheep's milk. So their flagship, there's too many, their flagship is 100% flagship. Cow's milk.
Yeah, and it's called Flagship.
And they have a Flagship Reserve, which is the cloth bound version of it. So Flag Sheep is adding in the sheep's milk with it.
That is awesome. I remember when all these cheeses won since 2010.
You were on the stage for most of it.
Yeah.
So John was there, like giving out the ribbons on the stage each year.
And getting amazing cheesemaker hugs.
That's all you did.
I remember one of the most exciting parts about the American Cheese Society conference was the Festival of Cheese. And so I think it's important to talk about briefly, because after we finish the judging and competition and the judges make their choices, it's 3 or 4 days before the announcements are made, and it's in a ceremony style room.
And y'all, John would know,
crazy.
And he is such an honorable man, he would not tell his wife. And I did not badger him, but I just want you to know the kind of character John is, that if you tell him a secret, he will never tell me. So
this cheese Flag Sheep is paired with the last cup. This is Wild Blueberry Lemon Jam from Robert Lambert in California. It is got Meyer lemon juice and zest, pineapple juice, some of the raspberry champagne jelly that we sell in the shop, some Thai ginger syrup that he makes, and a little bit of cognac, which is awesome. It's wonderful. We'll get into him in a minute, but it's a whole performance when we give out the ribbons, and there could be hundreds. If you were giving out first place, second place, third place, and there's ties, it could be 450 names announced, and the MCs are presenting and have to read all these names. The 2 years I got to be the reader was super intense, because there's a lot of French companies shipping or Canadian companies with French as their primary language that are shipping cheeses in. So you actually had to study another language just to get through it without being giggled at, we'll say. But anyway, it's a big pomp and circumstance, and it's one of the greatest nights of the year for cheesemakers. And then the next night, volunteers the next morning take out all the cheeses and set up what we call the Festival of Cheese, and where you can go in as a member of American Cheese Society or paying ticket holder. You can come in and taste over 1,000 different cheeses if you could taste that many cheeses and be all right with it. And it's amazing. And I remember where each of these cheeses was sort of displayed, and being on the committee allowed you to get in a little early to get a little nibble before the crazy rush happened. And
when everybody stormed, he would at least tell me like, turn left. Like he would at least give me instruction on like where I was trying to walk to on that Festival of Cheese. So the reason I paired the blueberry, wild lemon blueberry jams is because sheep milk is one of the fattiest and most palate coating and rich and nutty. And I wanted that acid from that lemon and blueberry to cut through it right on your palate. Especially right now, again, it's nice and salty. And so playing with that sweet and salty pairing as well. Sheep's milk cheeses, aged sheep's milk cheeses are your best at standing up to some bigger full body breads. So if you're out there drinking your cabs or anything with a lot of tannin on it, aged sheep milk cheese is your friend and way to go. Okay, we got to do our last one.
And if you eat the rind, it's tastes like the inside of a cave. Very mold driven. It's good.
Okay, well, I'll have to come back and do that because I don't have time to eat it with you.
Yeah, you don't.
Okay, y'all. These are, and Flagship Reserve won 2 years, and then Flag Sheep won in 2017. So I just want you to know that
let's do
they
this
have multiple awards.
Next.
So multiple time winner. You cannot get this, as far as we know, at any shop across the nation right now. Why? Because we had to kind of beg them, and they specially sent it to us specifically because we did an event with them last week or 2 weeks ago, the behind the scenes. And so we were like, can you just throw on, please, one or two extra wheels for this best of show tasting? And we were fine if they said no, but we got it. So y'all, these are all amazing cheeses.
This is what we do for y'all.
But you can get a lot of them at some point or another in the year. You cannot get this Rogue River Blue right now very easily. Hold tight, buddy. We're almost
done, kiddo. We'll be with you in a few minutes.
So this is Rogue River Blue, made by David Grimmels and his team in Central Port, Oregon. You tell us about it.
He's Uncle David. That's what our kids call him. So this cheese is amazing. It's an incredibly seasonal cheese.
Fudgy.
Again, I encourage you, if you want to go deep into Rogue River Blue, go to our YouTube channel and you can watch the behind the scenes tasting we just did with them.
They like walked in the pastures with the cows and stuff.
And you can see about it. So basically, some of their Oregon Blue, their wheels of cheese, eventually they are doing tastings constantly on batches. And when they think they have a batch that's really special, it might go into the Rogue River Blue batch. And what they'll do is they will they basically wrap it in grape leaves that have been macerated in a pear brandy that they've made on site. And so pear is very common in one of the main products that's grown in that area. And they partner with a winery, and they can go to that winery, and one day a year, they basically go as a team and they pick 60,000 leaves, something like that, so that they can cover each of these wheels. And overall, the flavor profile is so complex. It's intense. It's earthy. The first batches of cheese usually hit store counters around Labor Day, and they're usually gone by Christmas and by end of December.
And this past year, even more so, they were gone almost immediately. Why? Because this cheese was the first American cheese to ever win the World Cheese Awards.
Best cheese in the world.
Best cheese in the world at the World Cheese Awards, which was in Italy, I think. Last year. I don't know if it changes. So not only has this won Best of Show 3 times at the American Cheese Society, twice in 2009 and 2011, but last winter in 2019, it took Best Cheese in the World, first time ever for an American cheese.
Yeah.
So the amazing thing about it is the texture. It's just like, mine was actually, I usually say it's fudgy, but mine was like butter tonight. It's so creamy. It is able to simultaneously be meaty with like sometimes a bacony, but really fruity. And then the bite, it doesn't need anything with it, to be honest. Oftentimes on blue cheeses, we know for folks who don't like them as much, we have to put some sweet jams and all that. It is so good on its own, but
this is special.
Eating it together with the dried tart cherry, it just makes the cheese, instead of making it more salty, it makes the cheese more fruity to me. It makes it the flavor profile come out more.
And I just,
I thought it would also be good with your blueberry lemon preserves.
The cheese is just amazing, from the farm sourcing, getting the milk, making the wheels, doing the selection, identifying which wheels are potential candidates, and then aging it even more. These flavor profiles, they're intense, and they're, you like have to grab hold of it almost to get to fully experience it. But once you're in it, once you're having a relationship with this cheese, it just makes sense. It's just so good. It's wonderful. And
somebody asked, Pleasant Ridge Reserve also won twice, and the extra aged won. So Pleasant Ridge has won 3 times. And then the Reserve Tarrantez has won twice, cheese, yeah. As well as Flagship Reserve has won twice. So a lot of these are multiple time award winners.
Oh, wow.
That, if you don't like blue cheese, I hope you'll give a little bite to it. It's just fantastic. If you take our 101, we can talk about why it's a blue cheese and the make process in that. But
what I think about that story, I know we have to kind of wrap up here in a second, but what is so fun and cool about that story is that David Gremmels, when he and his partner were looking to do something different in life and business, and they were going to maybe open up like a wine store, a little wine restaurant, and they needed to source cheese. And so they went to one of the local cheesemakers, Rogue Creamery, and we're like, hey, we're looking to source cheese from y'all for our concept. And they said, okay, well, you have 2 weeks. You either have to buy the whole company or we're going to close it down. And in that 2 weeks, they made the decision to buy the company, and we had no experience doing any of it. And they did it, and they stuck with it. And they're some of the nicest, most humble people on the planet. And
all about
that's
ideals.
Why it's Uncle David.
All about ideals and doing it the right way. They are certified B Corp, which is super hard to attain. There's only a limited number. Patagonia is the most well-known, but a limited number of companies which are certified B Corps. And basically, it's that you can trace everything from your electricity output that you're putting back more into the earth than you're taking away. It's about teams and wages and everything. Basically, being an ethically responsible business, and we love them. And I hope that you recognize how special it is that you are the only people in the nation that are getting to taste this cheese right now.
Yes, It's amazing.
So, you guys, that was awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome. I want to mention my shirt really quick. A shout out to my shirt for today. One of our college buddies noticed it and said it looks nice. And somebody,
that was going to be my take it home story, but take it home, John.
You take it home, my love.
No,
you don't. No, I don't know what you're taking home. She's got a plan.
No, go for it.
I don't know what the take it home story was.
Well, just the fun story of John's tie-dye tux, if you're tuning in to see it, is a quick digression. My father passed away unexpectedly when I was in college. He was known for being an outrageous man who was always dressed over the top, and always went under the mantra, it's better to be overdressed than underdressed. That embarrassed me a lot of times. Like, we would go to Buca de Beppo and he would dress as the Pope, y'all. I mean, it was just like, he was just a very colorful, vibrant man. Loved him for it. It was also somewhat challenging at certain times and super embarrassing in your pre-teen age years. That being said, he was known for his custom tie-dye tux. I had John never got to meet my dad. Was really clearly upset that he will never know my dad and my children will never know my dad. But my dad lives on in these amazing stories and all these pictures of his weird attire and get up. And I'd always told John about the Pope outfit and the tie-dye tux outfit. Anyway, we were in.
And the fact that she had lost them in 2003 and they were gone forever.
And I couldn't find them. And I was just like, those are the only material things I wish I had kept or held on to. And I was just in a blur when I lost my dad. And he was unmarried and I was his only kid. And a lot had happened. So although
I've been searching for it secretly since I met Kendall.
Our family has this place out of the hill country, and we were there this past weekend. Nobody has been out there for months, and John is going through the
random space.
And I was like, dude, don't go through that. I mean, it's cabin. Like, there's mice and stuff. I was like, I wouldn't go through that cabinet if I were you. And lo and behold, this 3 days ago, he pulls out the tie-dye tux, y'all, that could make me cry. I have been talking about my dad has been passed almost 20 years.
And it fits perfectly, actually.
It's got these I don't know if dudes have shoulder pads. It's got some big shoulder pads. And this top hat is actually my dad's. I told you he was always overdressed. My dad would wear the top hat as well. So My dad is with us tonight in his original tie-dye tux, even though you don't have the bottoms on and just khaki shorts.
Well, I don't know that we have those pants. That's all right.
We only found the top. So that was, thanks. I hope if some of you dressed up tonight, please, if you want to, post your pictures in the comments or post to social. We would love to see you dressed up in your black tie affair. Thank you for playing with us and for letting us donate a portion of these goods to the ACE Foundation. Next week, on next Wednesday, we're rounding out our series for Taste of America, and we're specifically doing Taste of Wisconsin. And there will be no repeats with what we've had tonight. So join us next Wednesday for Taste of Wisconsin. We've already sold 60 seats, or seats, like you're coming in, 60 tickets. So we hope to sell it out so we can donate a good amount. Yes, I hope that you all lick your plates and there's no leftovers.
Then we have our behind the scenes this coming Saturday, y'all.
Yes. Okay. So the last thing for those who are just joining us on their first time at a tasting is we're really doing 3 different kinds of tastings during this pandemic. One are Wednesdays with John and Kendall Live, where we just talk about whatever we want to talk about with a certain theme and we have fun with it. Our team is doing our regular events host when we used to do classes open to the public. They are doing events every single night, both public classes as well as private events if you want to do it for a birthday or anniversary or celebration. And those are specific themes for small groups of like 30 people and via a private Zoom group, like Cheese 101 or how to pair cheese and chocolate or those types of classes. The third type of event we're doing is behind the scenes, super special Meet the Makers. So that's what we got to do at the Road Creamery. It's what we got to do with Jasper Hill Farm. And now on this Saturday, it's what we'll be doing with Green Dirt Farm out of Missouri. They're one of the best and unfortunately few sheep milk cheese producers in the United States. We don't really get their cheese that often down here because it's just not on a main cheese distribution route that easily comes to Texas. So it's everything from fresh sheep's milk cheeses to super gooey runny ones like the Harbison. They have one that's a spoonable one called Bosa we're going to try. That's won a first place ribbon, all the way to their aged pecorino styles. So Saturday, if you will help us, that is a good one. And
be a part of Cheese Geekery.
It's a completely different feel. John is more of an interviewer. And we let them take it away. And it's just them like iPhone recording out in the pastures or next to making cheese. And you can get a little bit more in depth with kind of like a 201 and the science behind the cheese.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
You want to take it home, baby?
Let's take it home. Let's lay in this plane.
Y'all were awesome. Thanks for being on our date night tonight. This was so much fun.
You mean everything to us. I am emotional today. I'm emotional every Wednesday. But this is my grounding and centering each week, is being with you and coming back together. Feeling these times can feel challenging when we don't feel like we have a purpose. You give us a purpose. Thank you for allowing us to live our passion with purpose of sharing the story of these labors of love in front of us to help keep our American cheesemakers in business. Thank you for allowing us to live our mission, personal mission to spread joy, and our work mission to do good, eat good. And thank you for not only coming into our home tonight, but allowing us to come into yours. It is super special to us and we don't take it for granted. So thank you. With that, thank you, Austin. We need a little bubbles refill. We hope you enjoyed Best of Show from American Cheese Society.
Y'all are the best of show.
Show us your pics.
Thanks, y'all.
Bye.